So I'm not sure you guys saw the episode, uh, like interview Don Lemon did with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was so like uh, saying that we need to move away from race, right? Making it everything about race. And even Elon Musk tweeted today, like someone posted that this is the Chinese and Indian Exclusion Act of 2024. Gary Tan said that, and Elon said that, "Yup, super racist." So even someone, a guy who says that we need to move away from uh, race, like making everything about race. Even he's saying that this is racist. How bad it needs to be for him to say that. Anyways, today's topic is: should government of India intervene against exploitation of Indians? So how I came to why I picked this topic. So uh, let me share a tweet. Okay, so I guess yesterday also, like Raj Karnataka said that basically what he was saying is that India should leverage its strength as a nation and ask for a fair treatment of its citizen, right? And I say that it needs to start at student level. I'll talk about why it needs to start at student level, right? But someone said that Ram said that I'm also in a green card backlog, but no self-respect country will or should intervene. What will the Indian government say? Please give permanent residency to the people who have left our country. Better for India to do what would be properly repatriate the best minds, thereby creating pressure. So yeah, that's what I wanted to discuss today. That uh, uh, should government of India intervene against exploitation of Indians? And the answer is like simple, right? That it should, if it is exploitation. So then the question is that, is it exploitation? If it is exploitation, I don't think so only the government of India should intervene. If it is exploitation, uh, every government of the world should intervene, right? Because the uh, injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere, right? So the main question is that uh, is it exploitation or not? So for on this episode, what we're gonna cover is that is this exploitation or not? Uh, why it needs to start at student level? How and should how or should India government of India should intervene? And at the end of the something I have to share, I have also some guests joining. They have much more, like they have lived in many different countries, so they're gonna come out and they gonna share their take, or they gonna uh, criticize whatever I have said, right? That is it, they agree, or is it like uh, something it needs to be corrected, right? So they're gonna come, they're gonna give their take, and then I have some action items for you guys to take actions on some of the things, right? So just to get started, let me share a clip with you guys. And this is a clip from Aapki Adalat, where I think Rajat Sharma asked Dr. Jaishankar, who is the external Minister of External Affairs of India, and all the three kids of Jaishankar are living abroad, right? So he asked him about that, and uh, what Dr. Jaishankar said is very related to what we're going to talk about today. So let's watch that clip first. And
पर जो आपने कहा कि मेरा मेरा जो परिवार जो है किस्म से इंटरनेशनल है, वो है। और पर मैं इस पे मैं दो कमेंट कहूँगा कि देखिए आज जो है करीब 3 करोड़ हमारे नागरिक और भारतीय मूल के लोग देश के बाहर रहते हैं। उनका भी देश के प्रगति में बहुत बड़ा योगदान होता है कि आप देखें कि जब कुछ संकट का समय आता है, और आया था जब हम लोगों ने न्यूक्लियर टेस्ट किया था, हमारे खिलाफ फाइनेंशियल माने किस्म से सैंक्शन लगे थे, तो उस टाइम या आज भी अगर आप रेमिटेंस देखें, जितना रेमिटेंस दुनिया से भारत में आता है, फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट से ज़्यादा रेमिटेंस की संख्या होती है। तो ये लोग जो बाहर भारत के बाहर काम करते हैं, ये मैं कह सकता हूँ, मैं देखिए मैं 40 साल में करीब मैं 30 साल मैं देश के बाहर था। हाँ, जब देश के बाहर कोई आदमी होता है ना, देश के बारे में ज़्यादा सोचता है। और मेरे केस में तो मैं विदेश सेवा में था, 4 जगह मैं राजदूत था। और जब देश की माने सेवा में देश की प्रतिनिधि होते हैं तो उस समय देश के बारे में गर्व ज़्यादा होता है। तो एक मैं कहूँगा कि जो हम लोग जो देश को रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, हम जो हैं सुपर नेशनलिस्टिक लोग होते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे लिए नेशनलिज्म जो है ये कोई भाषण का मामला नहीं है, हमारे लिए रोज़ का मामला है कि जो देश का जो गर्व और जो जिम्मेदारी जो होती उसको हम हर समय अपने साथ रखते हैं।
और इसीलिए
All right, so there are a couple of two important things from that, right? That this is big, right? That what he said, that the remittance money comes to the India, it's higher than any foreign investment, and that's huge, right? That all these companies are coming and investing in India. All that investment is less than people sending money to India, like remittance money. So that is huge. So like people who are abroad, they are like significantly contributing to make uh, India better. And it's not like that. What he said is very true, that when you go outside of the India, then you start thinking about India more, right? That a lot of the things you start was taking granted, then you realize, right? And then we are like in the different country, you are like representing India in all these countries, right? So then people, I think, become more patriotic than less. So those are some like important things to consider while we are like discussing this, right? So now let's talk about why this needs to start at student level, right? And some of you would say that, Anuj, student visa is not a dual intent visa. Like that's the argument I get all the time, right? That the student visa, it's not a dual intent visa. So what that means, right? And I'm just giving my understanding what that means is that the dual intent, it's not a dual intent visa. So anyone who is going to get a student visa, their intent should be to go there to study, right? So you cannot go there with the intent to settle there. But it's just like while you are going, your intent needs to be genuine as a student, but it's not like as soon as uh, you have to come back after your student visa. So I looked it up, and what it says that you cannot stay beyond your authorized stay, but you are allowed to extend your authorized stay, or you are allowed to change status, right? That if United States wanted all the students to leave after their studies are over, they wouldn't allow this option to change the status, right? That right now you change your status to H1 if you win the lottery. uh, and like a lot of people won't know this, but you are also allowed to change your status to permanent residency directly from F1 to green card, right? It's not like you have to go through this, like you have to convert first to dual intent visa, and then you have to go to this green card, right? So uh, it's not a dual intent, but you can still, like, let's say that two people, after they graduated, they came to the United States. Two people came from different country. One person came from India to get their master, and another person came from, let's say, Bangladesh to get their bachelor. They both studied computer science. They got job in the same company, right? Now, after their study finished, they had this OPT for 3 years. Now, both uh, people got this job in the same company on their OPT. Now, both employee, the company like them a lot, right? So they want to sponsor their H1, they want to keep them permanent, right? But they applied for H1B lottery for both of these employees, but none of them got the lottery in the first try, right? So when they uh, didn't qualify for the lottery, and this is kind of, I'm making this up, but I have heard this like real life scenario, some of my friends going through this, right? So one person was from country other than India, Bangladesh, because now they didn't got the H1B, right? So now the company sponsored this employee's immigration petition, and they can get the EAD in a year. They can get green card within a year or two. Meanwhile, the Indian employee, even though Indian employee has a master, and even though, like, let's say that for some reason the company likes this Indian employee better, for whatever reason, right? Maybe he's hardworking, maybe he's like more skilled. But if that student doesn't get H1B, then there is no point of sponsoring their green card petition, right? Immigration petition, because that employee cannot continue working for that company unless it gets H1B, because the wait time, the green card wait time is more than 100 years right now. Meanwhile, for the rest of the world, it's a year or two, right? So now think about that. That is this fair or not, right? That based on this thing, two people are in the United States on the same status, but they have a lot different opportunity based on where they are born, right? Totally, not because they were like less educated, not because they were like less qualified. It's not like they were not hardworking. Just based on the country of birth, one student might have to go back to their country, and one person would get a green card, right? So this is a discrimination from the US laws. According to the US law, if two people has a different opportunity based on their country of birth, age, sex, race, then that's the discrimination by the standard of US, right? So this is a clear discrimination even when someone is on the student visa, because their opportunities are very different based on where they are born. And now what happens, that why it needs to start at the student level, is that United States has a huge need of STEM students and workers as well, right? But we are talking about students, and there are like two kinds of we can divide the colleges and students, right? That there is like top league school, and they need students, right? And they need STEM students to do continue doing their research, and it's not just to get the fees, right? This top league school, they have to maintain their competitiveness, their impression, their endowment. So a lot of this research is happening in this top league schools. Half of them, the research is done by international students, mostly from India and China, right? So they cannot have the country cap on the student visa. Otherwise, they would be like forced to take the students who are less qualified based on the country of birth. They will have to recruit them either from foreign or either from locally, right? So they're not gonna let that happen, because they need the best of the best students. regardless of where they come from. Now, India is the number one uh, place where they heavily recruit student, right? It's not like a lot of people say that, hey, a lot of students wants to come from India. And one way it's true, but also they cannot, it's not like an open border where they can walk in, right? First university has to accept them, and then the consulate has to give them visa, right? So it's like two-way process, that it's like from happening from both sides, that Indian students are getting admitted more for whatever reason, and then they are getting the visa, right? So this is about like top league schools that they cannot afford to not have the best of the like freedom to take the best of the best students, and a lot of the students they need are coming from India. Now the other category of the schools is like the schools which are uh, heavily reliant on international students. If they don't get international students, they might uh, have to shut down, because the international students pay way much tuition fees than the local students, domestic students. So international student has to pay higher fees. And also this lot of international students are coming from either India or China. It used to be China, but now if you see the trend in the last 3 4 years, that Indian students are number one, right? Of the all the students who are coming to study in the United States, Indian gets the most number of visa. So it's like this system, it's like heavily dependent uh, on like getting the best of the best students regardless of where they come from. And the Indian students are preferred because they want to study in the STEM field, they follow all the laws. And then also like uh, you see that the recruitment, if you see that all these universities are going to India, right? I don't see them going to other countries that much to recruit the students, right? That you see this fairs happening, the admission fair and all that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I haven't seen that much happening in any other country. If you see the consulate website in India, US consulates in India, they are constantly promoting that how much US is a better place for opportunity and for higher studies, right? And as much as US consulates in India are doing that, I am not seeing that much happening in other countries by the US consulates, right? So they are promoting that the United States is a great place for higher learning, which is, I guess it's true. But this discrimination is still there, that when they come, uh, their growth is dependent on where they are born. While they need the student, they cannot uh, do without Indian students, but they don't want to give them this equal opportunities. So that's big. But it's not just student visa, right? That once the studies are done in the STEM field, and by the way, the most of the students who are coming from India are studying in the STEM. If you go for a visa other than STEM, they do give the visa, but the success uh, rate is very very low if it is not in the STEM field. So they need the STEM field. Once they study in the STEM field, you get 3 year OPT, right? So United States has a huge shortage of STEM workers. There are a lot of jobs in the United States and they don't have enough worker. So what is happening in the student visa, that they don't have the quota and the country cap as well. So I think last year they gave around like 300,000 visas to Indian, student visas to Indian. Next year they can give to the 500 visas. So it's like there is no quota and there is no country cap. So what is happening is that all these 500,000 students can come to the United States, or however many. At least then what happens is that they get the workers for 3 years, and what happens after their they are done with their 3 years OPT, they are not that much worried, it seems like, right? Because at least that will be recycled, right? That the new students are going to keep coming and they're going to keep continue getting the workers at least for 3 years, right? So now think about how much it is unfair to the Indian students and how much of loss it's to India. So talking about how unfair it is, that whenever like Indian students come to the United States, they have to, like, not all coming from rich family, right? The most of them are coming from middle class family or lower middle class family. A lot of people take a lot of loans, a lot of people get mortgages, a lot of Indians like sell their home to get the fees, to pay this international uh, fees, to send their kids to the United States. And when they come to the United States, they will be discriminated based on where they are born, right? That they won't have the equal opportunity just based on where they are born. So this is like clear discrimination and clear exploitation, that while you want something, but you are not providing the equal opportunity to them. I'm saying that, let's say that uh, uh, this opportunities would be same regardless of where you are from. Like, let's say that United States can say that all the students need to go back after finishing their study. The change of, like, that's there in J1 category, right? That you have to go back to your country and live there before you can come on another visa, right? So they can do something like that on the student visa, which I don't recommend. But like, let's say if they do that, that they are sending all the students back, then it won't be discrimination. It won't be good for America, but it won't be discrimination, because every student is treating equally. But what is happening here is that Indian students are treated very differently, while they are the ones needed the most, right? And how much India has to lose. Think about that. That Dr. Jaishankar said that the remittance from India is higher than foreign investment, and it's needed even in some kind of situations where other countries are not supporting these foreigners, like NRI who are living abroad. They are supporting India now, because a lot of the students, they don't have the equal opportunity. Like, let's say that some students need to go back, and this other countries student got the benefit based on the country of birth. So like, you see that the other countries are benefiting, meanwhile India is losing on that, right? That Indian students are not getting the same opportunity. So they might have hard time recovering their fees. They might have hard time securing better paying jobs, and they might have hard time supporting their families back home and their country back home, right? That the state I am from, you see that I see that if you go to the villages, even in the villages, there are some schools are amazing schools, and that's not done by the government. That's done by the people who are living abroad, but they wanted to contribute back to their country. And those schools are done made by those people, so they can't. Like, also, like, I go to India in every December. If you see that the wearing industry is very big, NRIs come and spend heavily in India to booming their economy. But all this loss happening just based on the country of birth. India is losing out a lot of things, and their students are getting exploited. Their skilled workers are getting exploited, but the Indian talent is getting exploited as well, right? So, and what is the job of government? Right, the government's job is to protect their citizens, and when the students are coming, like most of the us, when we came here, we didn't know that we will be discriminated based on our country of birth. This is the something we found out much later, after when we get into the backlog, most of us, right? But what is happening with the student is that while they are a student, when they are coming as a student, they are pretty young. So they are in their early 20s, or sometimes even they are like 18 if they are coming for undergrad, right? So at that point, they are not thinking that much ahead for their future. They are like just thinking that for right now, maybe if I go to uh, getting the best of the best colleges in India, it's very competitive, right? So instead of going to a local college, if they can go to a university abroad, that would be better for them. They are not thinking in the long term future, right? That in the long term, when they will have to, they will get old, they will have families, that freedom will matter more. They are not thinking in that terms. They are not thinking in that term that once you move to the country, once you start getting all this like attachments to the country, because you have a job there, then you start family there, it would be hard to move out of that country. It would be hard. So they are not thinking in that long term future, and they are like not even adult 21. So their interest needs to, it's government's job to protect them, right? And some people might not agree with that, but like let's say that's why we uh, elect these people in the democracy, that we elect lawmakers. They make laws to protect its citizens. So like kind of a example is a seat belt, right? That that not entire nation would be able to uh, make good judgments. So that's why government intervenes and they make this kind of laws where they say that okay, yeah, we need to protect our citizens, so make seat belt mandatory. uh, so this is, we are talking about people who are very young. They haven't seen a lot of things, and they come to the United States thinking that they are going to the country which has like probably the best human rights. But when they come to the United States, they are getting exploited. That US is benefiting hugely from this Indian talent, but they are not treating them equally. So that's, I think, it's a clear exploitation of Indian talent, right? So th- I don't think so. There's any argument there. So now the question is that should government intervene? I think that government should intervene. How government should intervene? Uh, uh, so let's just watch another clip, which happens something recently in India. CAA is that India amended its Citizenship and Amendment Act, and how US reacted to that. Let's see that.
We are concerned about the notification of the Citizenship Amendment Act on March 11. We are closely monitoring this act, how this act will be implemented. Respect for religious freedom and equal treatment under the law for all communities are fundamental democratic principles. Concerned about the notification.
All right, so to answer how this started, right? That the why government of India should intervene, and you see that the Citizenship and Amendment Act was amended in India, and US reacted to that they are closely monitoring what is happening in India. Why they are closely monitoring what's happening in India? I think that it's okay, right? That all this democracy in the world, I don't think so anything wrong that they are monitoring, right? That there should be this checks and balances uh, in place. But you see that the US wants to monitor the entire world and make sure that everything is done right, and they will intervene to that extent. So like let's say that if India wants to become the leader, stay leader, right, then they probably not poke around in all the countries' business, but at least they need to intervene whenever their citizens are exploited, right? And I'm not saying that they should make their job. I'm not saying that like Modi, Prime Minister of India, or like Dr. Jaishankar should call Biden and ask them to fix it. But like, let's say that some people's word matter more than others. Some people's words has a heavy weight. So whatever US said, if like let's say that Dr. Jaishankar, if they post out a tweet or says that in media, that whatever is happening to the Indian talent in the United States, or whatever is happening to the Indian high skilled workers in the United States, we are closely monitoring that. Even saying that, that would have a great impact. Then it will be like media will go crazy that what is happening in the United States, and all this media will start covering that what they are monitoring, what's going on is wrong. So it's like they don't have to like do a lot, but they need to clearly look into this, that this is an exploitation, which is, if they look into it, it's a clear exploitation. There is no doubt about that, and they just have to give some statement like that, that hey, we are closely monitoring that, and then the media will take from there, that even the Indian media and like US media and the world media will start noticing that what is they are talking about, what is happening in the United States, they are closely monitoring. So I'm not asking that they should start doing something like taking action. If they want to do, I think that would be fair for the both countries, and like it needs to stop. But at least they can do this kind of small thing, right, to end this kind of exploitation. So they just can like put out this kind of tweet or a statement in the media, right? And why they need to intervene is that because of one thing I forgot to mention is that it's a discrimination. So let's say, talking about a different country, UAE. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of Indians go to UAE as well, right? But in UAE, no one can become permanent resident, as far as I know. It's not like only Indian cannot become permanent resident. The laws are same for all the foreigners, right? One thing is they are not getting taxed on whatever they earn, and also the rules are same. Now, like let's say that some jobs in the uh, UAE might be like their working environment might not be as good as United States, but they also have jobs which are very well paying job, good jobs, and a lot of Indians go to find this better opportunity or provide better for their family to all this country with uh, their own choice, right? And they are supporting India back as well. I don't think so there is anything for government of India to intervene there, because there is no discrimination. They either their work environment is better, or worse, it's the same for foreigner. So we are comparing foreigner to foreigner. We are like, every country should look out for their own citizens, right? That we are not saying that treat us same as American. We are saying that treat all the foreigners same regardless of where they are from. So it's like, you cannot do like that, that you want the foreigners from this particular country who are like greatly contributing, but you are not giving them equal opportunities. So that's why, because there is this kind of discrimination and exploitation, I think that government of India should look into it uh, and intervene. Uh, Anyways, if you guys, we will bring out our guest now, but they can join any moment. But if you have any thoughts or comments, let me know. Let me put it in the chat. That what are your things? If I am, this is not any kind of immigration advice, and if I am like making a mistake somewhere, that oh Anuj, these are the laws, then please put it in the comment, because we all want to correct uh, and improve, right? So
Hello.
How's it going?
Hey, Anuj. I'm good. How are you? Thanks
Good,
so much
good.
for inviting us over today.
No, yeah. So is Rahul joining?
Yes, he
Okay,
is.
okay,
I'm just
great.
pinging him.
So, for the viewers, you probably know these guys. They are doing amazing job. They are hosting a podcast called Area 51, which where they talk about all thing immigration, and they are advocating for this green to for the solution to green card backlog as well. So I love them. They are doing great job, and they are here to give their take on this, right? So, Sanjay, if you want to, if you have anything to say to introduce yourself, go ahead and uh, uh, if correct me if I'm wrong, but both of you have lived in four countries, or someone has lived in the four countries.
So Rahul has lived in four different countries. I've pretty much like, well, I'll say mostly two. Like, I've honestly not lived in India. I used to go, for summer vacations. I grew up in Dubai, in the Middle East.
Hmm.
So every couple of years or so, my parents travel India back home for a couple of months. We just visit family and that sort of stuff. So I think my life has mostly been spent in the United Arab Emirates and in the US.
Okay.
But yeah, thanks so much for introducing us again, Anuj. Like, we really appreciate it. And like you mentioned, so we started this thing, this podcast called Area 51. Oh, hey, there's Rahul. So
Hey,
he's joining
hey,
us.
Mhm.
hey, guys! Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep, yep,
yes,
yep,
yeah,
Oh,
loud
loud
and
awesome,
clear.
awesome,
time.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I had some issues joining. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had some issue as well, so I had to change the link. But yeah, Rahul, Sanjay was just introducing himself, and then you can go. I just.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, thanks everyone for, whoever's live right now. So Rahul and I, we do this podcast called Area 51. And our intent behind the podcast is basically bringing more awareness to folks on how complex and messy the US immigration system is and how it affects the lives of millions of people living here, just because of, very archaic and, out some of them even outright racist rule definitions that have been
Yeah,
set back in the 1950s and 60s,
Mm-hmm.
during whatever era it was, and the fact that it's not been changed. It's probably what, like 60, 70 plus 60 years now. It's so frustrating because it's very difficult for folks who navigate this system. And our idea behind this podcast is, like, we do episodes and bring out content to help understand and bring more awareness to that, and also bring immigrant stories. Folks, and Anuj, you were recently on an episode
yeah,
with us,
Yes. Uh-huh.
about the
yeah,
amazing work that you've done, like covering all 50 states in a single year, which is and it's stories like yours that we love to highlight so that
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
folks understand, how messy the system
yeah.
is.
And are inspired. Yeah, to
Yeah,
do
exactly. Yeah.
because you
Um,
did it on your own time and your own dime. Like,
yep,
Right,
yep,
like,
right.
yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You
Yeah,
literally
that's
walk the talk.
yeah,
yeah,
hats
that's
off to
what
you for
I
that.
was
Hats off to you
saying.
for that.
People, right? That
Yeah,
we all have to do what we can and what we can
yep,
sustain, right? So
yep,
that's
yep,
Yep.
something
yep.
I could do. So I did it, and hopefully that would have inspired other people to take action, right? Anyways, Rahul, I think you have lived in four countries, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I heard you talk a little bit while
Yeah.
the thing was sinking. I did live in
Yeah.
four countries. So because I did my bachelor's in India, I got to spend some time in India when I was 18 to 22. But majority has been childhood was split between two Arab countries, Bahrain and UAE,
Mm-hmm.
and India, and now US. So it's been four countries.
Okay.
Very nomadic life.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you are like great. You both have lived in countries other than India. So of, of course we are living in the United States, but you have like
yep,
exposure to other countries as well.
Yep.
So this is great for today's topic, right?
yep.
So I'm sure you have heard me.
Yes.
Uh, uh, you heard what I talked about so
Yep.
far. What are your thoughts that whatever I talked about so far, what are some of the things you agree with? What are some of the things you think that, okay, I'm not so sure on those? So, what are your thoughts so far about the everything I have talked
So
about
you're
so far?
spot on most of it, Anuj. One small clarification I want to make at the start. You said student visa is not a dual intent visa, but as of Jan 2024, there's been a
Yep.
change to that now. Student
Yep.
visa F1 is considered a
Yep.
dual intent visa right now. It's a
Oh,
yeah,
So you
it's a very little weird, right, Sanjay? They said as long as you're not abandoning your property in your home
your home
country,
country. Yep.
it's considered a dollar visa. So a
Yeah.
student coming here now is allowed to have a petition filed in his name, which is a
Yep.
big change. As you know, every time we go to that F1 visa interview, they say, "Are you planning to go back home? Are you not planning to go back home?" Just to make sure, if they have a slightest hint of the fact that you have an intent to immigrate to the country, your visa is rejected. But
right.
it's not that case anymore. Like
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted
Yep.
to
So,
point that out.
so what I thought about is that
Yeah,
they want to keep this blank check of to reject anyone without giving like a huge reason, right?
right, right.
So if they made that, that's a huge improvement. That like
Yeah,
that's
it
one of
is.
the
It
yeah.
is for whatever it's worth. That is something to USCIS credit. But now there's also another distinction, Anuj. Like
Yeah,
so, we understand that this is a very new update in USCIS policies.
Hmm.
But the interviews typically is conducted by some counselor officer who
Right.
is a DHS employee
yeah,
or
Hmm.
Department of State, who need not necessarily,
Right.
although it's
yeah.
all under the same org, they are technically in a different department. They need not necessarily
Yeah.
use that same ruling because they can say, "Hey, this
Right.
is not
Uh-huh.
explicitly stated in our memos, so
Hmm.
we don't need to adhere
Yeah.
to it." So
Right.
that's where the difficulty arises, right? Like because you can say like a student can say, oh yeah, I don't have much ties, I'm planning to like immigrate after studying for a while in the US. The officer can say like, no, we are still going to reject your visa, they can say something like that. And
Hmm.
so like that I think
Right.
it's still safer to
Okay.
be on the conservative side to
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you
think that
can't
way.
sue an officer, or you can't even petition for a review of any decision that's been done by an officer
Hmm.
at an embassy.
Right.
So essentially all they have to say, if one or two officers are not well versed with the rules and say that, hey, no, you have an intent to immigrate, you
Right.
can't question it.
Right.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
very funny
But
the way
But
even
it's
without
structured.
the change of this rule, what I mention is that without this rule change, right, in the United States, it's allowed to file change of status directly to EB visa without going through H1B. So it's there, right? US
Yes,
allows
yes,
you
yes,
yes,
to do
yes.
that.
yep,
Uh, and also, like, you can transfer to all these different visas. So it's like, I think that the intent is dual from the government side from the get go. The
correct.
applicant
It's not
cannot have a
straightforward.
It's
dual intent, but the government.
Yeah,
correct. It's basically like typical government inefficient bureaucracy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because like there's at some level they understand like the fact that USCIS had to clarify that and stated, hey, it is okay that F1 can have a dual intent. That itself, I will admit, like Rahul said, it's kudos to them that they've
Hmm.
explicitly come
yeah,
out and
yeah.
stated that.
Hmm.
But it's a government agency, and it we know how badly governments
Yeah.
can be run. Like we are part of that.
And
So.
this problem, it's very apt that you said that it starts with the students, right? Because
Yep.
I got the numbers from last year when you were talking, Anuj, right?
Mhm.
Last year, 2023, 446,000 F1 visas were issued in total. All right,
Wow.
out of which 130,000 were for Indian students only.
How much? How many?
130,000.
130,000 were for Indian students, right?
Right.
And now we have this big ass funnel over here that's 85,000 H1B visas.
Right.
What happens to the rest out of
Right.
440? Because this green card cap is only for Indians right now. Yes, it's a problem, right? But
Right.
every F1 student needs an H1B, right?
Right.
So the 440K has to compete for that 85K. And now you're not looking at the people from the last couple of years who have not gotten, whose second or third attempt it is, right?
Hmm.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's just bubble that's just slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. One day we're going to have something that's going to sit and the whole bubble's going to burst. And
Right.
I have no clue what's going to happen at that point.
And
uh,
no, and that's just the students. Now, you might have folks who are on other dependent visas who are also trying for the H1, like for an H4 or a J1 student visa. There are different categories. So they've kept the H1B funnel open for anybody to apply and register. But then after that, when you actually start the immigrant process, like to becoming a permanent resident, that is where they've decided to put the stoplights with,
Yeah.
these country caps, which is pretty nonsense. There's no other nation in the world that does it. Like if you go to the United Kingdom or if you go to Canada, Australia, Germany, any of these countries, it's simple, a first come, first serve basis.
Yeah.
Whoever gets a line
Yeah.
first, they get it first. And you've stated that, like, I think the tweet you had tweeted out today morning, somebody who's a PhD holder said, it's not the wait that's the problem. We are fine with waiting if it
right.
means,
Yeah.
but the fact we are waiting purely on the
The
basis of where
discrimination
we
is
were
the
born.
issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying is that if the United States was saying that all the students need to go back, I wouldn't complain about that, that their country, their rule.
yeah,
But while they
Yeah.
want Indian students, they don't want to give them equal opportunity.
Yeah.
That you
yep,
are taking all the students you want without country cap, then you are taking all the workers you need without a country cap,
yeah,
but then you are putting them in this like 100-year backlog based on the country of birth.
yep,
That's
Yeah.
an issue. But
Yeah.
the exploitation part also, as you mentioned, that there are only 85,000 visas, right?
yeah,
Now there is like not a lot of motivation to fix this issue, because like you see that all the students who are coming, they are getting 3-year OPD, right? So they are at
mhm,
least getting workers for
yep,
3 years, so they can, like, if they need more workers without Congress doing anything, they can just like issue more student visas. So they
yeah,
got this worker at least for 3 years, and whatever
Yeah.
happens to them after 3 years, they are like not that worried about them,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
wrong, I think,
Yeah.
that they are not thinking about that. And so what are your thoughts? Do you think, does it sound like exploitation to you guys, or not?
Absolutely. I think on the surface, it might not look like exploitation because, again, if you look at the numbers, right,
Mhm.
Indians are the largest earning ethnic group in America, right?
Right. Oh yeah,
Recently, right?
yeah.
Like I
Uh-huh.
think US was a median family was I think 126K for Indian, where I think US is
yep.
around I think around 70 between 68 to 70,
67,000,
68 to
67,000, right?
70, yeah, something of that
Yeah,
sort, right? So
yeah,
on the surface, it looks like we're killing it, right?
Right.
It's like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
great, you know, we have so much money coming in, we're earning more than everyone else. But like
Uh-huh.
once you take that facade, on top, you remove that, and then you go down, then you'll be like, oh shit, this is actually pretty messed up, right? It's not easy to change jobs. We are constantly living in that fear that, hey, any day could be our last. You get a layoff or something of that sort, 60 days to find a new job.
Mm-hmm.
You perm takes more than 6 years. We've got to lose our job and sit around waiting for our waiting for USCIS to sit and adjudicate a perm so that we can
yeah,
actually get back into work, where we
Mm-hmm.
yep,
can't
yep,
take promotions easily. We can't move. If I'm
yep,
moving more than 50 miles within the same state,
yeah,
I have to let the government know, right? So
Right.
it is it definitely, once you take away all the superficial facade on top, it's definitely not it's definitely an unfair system for the people here, right? The mental fatigue or stress that can't be quantified very easily, that's something that no one's ever talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and this continues. I think within the next few years or so, I think that's going to be like a growing problem among the Indian families or Indians in US, the amount of
no,
stress that it
and we are already starting to see how the problem is, like with the documented dreamer children, right? Like
yeah
these are young kids who have aged out of the system because they can't remain H1B dependents after the age of 18. And that's what I think, if I'm not mistaken, like among Indian families itself, that's like around close to 200,000 kids itself.
yeah yeah
200,000 kids.
Uh-huh.
Like, and not every, and the option is what, that they, if they want to study in a university, they have to go back to being an international student. And this is
yeah
kids who have lived here their entire lives. that means they are considered residents for all taxation purposes for the IRS.
Yeah.
But when it comes to their visa, they have to go back to being, they have to pay 3 times more fees. And in this between, and this is probably funded by their parents. Let's say
Uh-huh.
their parent loses a job, the parent has to go back, the kid is stuck here. Like, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
chaotic. Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
And we have such a large population of L1 visas here, right? Almost every L1 visa holder who's come here mid-career,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
they're going to face this problem, right?
yep,
Right.
yep,
But they're usually in their mid 30s, right? They would they would probably have a few kids, right?
Right.
You bring
Yeah.
that kid here, they get that citizenship, and the kid is like, oh, nowhere. If I don't get into that school or college, like Sanjay is saying, I'm screwed. I'm
Right.
separated
correct.
from my parents and my family.
Exactly, exactly.
So going back to what Sanjay said, like about all these kids, right? So what is happening now because this backlog is 100 years? It's like uh, first they exploited parents or like discriminated parents got discriminated first,
They're going the
and
family tree.
now the kid has to go follow the same, right? So like
Yep,
they are getting this indentured worker. First parents were there, and now you also getting the kids. So kids are paying higher fees even though they grow up here. They should
yeah,
have been like citizen if they were like born anywhere else. But
yep,
now even though they are like grow up here, they have to pay international fees, and then they have to start the whole journey again, and they will be on the H1B visa forever also because they are born in India.
yep.
So it's so wrong.
It absolutely is like, and it's we are like, these problems were, whoever defined these laws back in the 60s, I'll I'm I'll give them some benefit of doubt, because these cases are so extreme, because nobody would have thought so far ahead that
Hmm.
how fractured the system becomes. But
Yeah.
we are already starting. We are talking 1 million plus Indians stuck in the green card, 200,000 Indian kids aging out of the H1 system.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
this, it's just started. It's only going worse from here. It's not getting better like
Right.
anytime
Uh-huh.
soon.
So I
And
guess that probably whenever they uh, put this into the laws in 60s and probably like more related to employment in 90s, I don't think so it was intentional
Yeah, because
for
you
sure,
they
but
probably do not have the
intentionally or
foresight, right?
unintentionally
Yeah.
they have stumbled upon that system or this funnel which works great for them, and that's why I guess there is no motivation because they stumble upon this, that this is great to have the like loyal employees, but they are not seeing that it's like hurting America and it's very unfair to all these workers. Rahul, you were saying something?
Yeah, I was saying in when they implemented the system, like you said, Anuj, the foresight to think that for decades down the down we would have such a large population of folks here, such that it would be in such a fractured system. I don't think anyone at that point could have predicted that, right?
Hmm.
I don't think when the because think about it, they allotted the same percentage to every company, right? What was it? I think like 7%. I think it's 7%, right? They allotted 7%. So when it started off, I think the intention was fine, but
Right.
no further updates have been made. I mean, think about it. India and China, like the two largest populations of the world.
Hmm.
You're giving them the same. You're giving them the same percentage of visas as you're giving to, let's say, Bahrain, which is a tiny island,
Right.
right? The entire population of Bahrain could probably fit into one or two states of India, right? So,
Mhm.
is it
Right.
fair?
Yeah.
That's what it's like mind-boggling for me to understand. Like, why are we
You know
taking so
when
long?
where this is issue is that like let's say in 1990 they put the 7% country cap, it's fine. What the issue happened is when they did the AC-21, which is called American Competitiveness in the 21st Century Act. What they did is that H1B was supposed to be a temporary visa, but they changed it to permanent visa. So they are not calling it permanent, but they what they did is that okay, if your I-140 is approved, then you can renew your H1B unlimited time, and that's the biggest issue. When they did AC-21, what I think they should have done that if someone has been on H1B for 6 years, and if the United States and the company still need them, then they should be quota exempt. That they already spent 6 years here, they
Uh,
contributed here, they followed all the laws, and we still need them here. So there is like no point of them, no point after their immigration petition is approved to keep them still on the H-1B. So I think
yeah,
that the AC-21, it's where they went wrong.
yeah. You
Big.
know, Anuj, what's even a simpler fix, right? Instead of changing all this, if you've been in the country for like 4 or 5 years, at least just start off by giving us EADs, right?
Right, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like the basic fix that you can have. Give us an EAD, right? So give us a flexibility to change jobs at will. Let us move away from the H1B, that whole constraint that we are facing in an H1B.
Right.
That's like the simplest fix that anyone can do. I keep seeing the same recommendation being made by the Asian committee. I forgot the exact name, right? I think
Yeah,
headed by
I think
yeah,
White
yeah, yeah.
House
They've been
initial.
making this recommendation for the last 5 or 6 years. Every
Mhm.
time the recommendation is made, the Indian community rejoices, right?
Yeah.
If newspapers in India, they
Newspaper will
put it,
publish that it's already
they'll
like
post
it's
a
already done.
recommendation made to the White House, and then
Yeah.
and then you people like the few people who know, they're like, this is the sixth recommendation that's being made.
No, I guess that Indian media don't even say that recommendation is made. They will say that
Yeah,
White House committee approved EAD
exactly.
for.
It's not even an official White House committee. It's an advisory committee
Right.
that's formed by a couple of people who actually recommend them, right?
Mhm,
And we run with it, and then you understand that it's just a recommendation. This is same recommendation has been made many times, but
mhm. All right. Anyways, what do you guys think? Should the government of India should intervene and
yes,
if,
yes.
Mhm,
You made one statement. It's not like we're asking for Jayashankar to come directly and reach out. That's exactly what we should do, right? Because he's done it in the past. Around
mhm,
2017, 2018 or something, during Trump's administration, they made a statement saying that they were planning to cut the number of H1Bs or uh, L1 visas issued per year or something. The Indian government suddenly panicked and they woke up, and then Jayashankar reached out to the administration, spoke to the, I think it was Blinken, I don't know who it was, spoke to the folks here during two of his trips. That was an issue of discussion. In
mhm,
2022, there was a delay in Australia issuing visas to their students for them to go back into the country. That was another time when Jaishankar reached out, had dialogue with the government saying, hey, this is a backlog that's affecting the Indian students. You need to get that back and up running. So
mhm.
in the past, it has been done.
Yeah.
So and we need to make sure that that's what should happen. The
Mm.
government should have, when Modi came, they were I looked through the discussion points from the White House, right? we the green card thing was not there. The only thing
Right.
that they spoke about
Uh-huh.
was H1B visa stamping. I was like that.
No,
Right.
no, see, so you have to understand what's the incentive
Yeah,
there, right? Look, and as much as I feel like it's not a very, I'm probably pushing back on both of your ideas, like, and I'm explaining why that is. Like, the reason you will see Jaishankar or Indian Foreign Ministry jumping up and holding guns to have discussions when it comes to reducing the number of H1B visas is because the largest H1B visas are provided by a lot of IT consulting shops that are based out of India. These are massive conglomerates, like billion-dollar industries that are
Mhm,
part of NASCOM. They're like an industry group, and they bring in a lot of money, and they probably have a lot of clout in pushing that, hey, if that reduces, our revenue reduces, and that's why we. But when it comes to green cards and those things, it's a different incentive. If somebody gets a green card, they don't need to be tied down to an employer anymore. And
yeah,
so you don't have folks who need to stick around with these IT consulting firms like Infosys
yeah.
or TCS or whatever it is. And so you will never see them pursuing to push for an agenda for, say, hey, let's fix the green card issue.
Yeah,
It
right.
also the amount of money sent back home dwindles down, right?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
but
Yep.
the question was, what should the government do? Not why should the government do it, right? Should the
Oh yeah,
government do it,
yeah.
right?
Oh
Should
yeah,
the government
absolutely. Yep, yep,
and
absolutely.
and the examples that I showed or that I just mentioned right now was the fact that it has been done. So it's
Right.
not like
Yeah.
Indian government has never interfered or pushed back against immigration based issues. We
Right.
just need to make sure that there's enough noise or there's enough advocacy or anything from our end that we can do to make sure that it reaches them and they know that they need to do this.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
why we are
incentive
doing
wise,
this,
I
right?
yeah, exactly, right. So yeah, IT backing, lobbying, lot of money in that pocket. So like Sanjay said, it's only very, very obvious that these are things that he would stick up for.
So
But
talking about
yeah,
incentive for the
yeah,
Indian government to speak up, right? Regardless of like incentive, first like they should do it because it's fair, right? That they should say that
yeah,
Indian citizens should be treated fairly. It's not like they are asking. They should ask that give Indian permanent residency. That's not for them to ask, but at least they can say that they should be treated on based on their merit or like treated fairly. But talking about incentive, like let's say that I gave one example, right? That let's say someone finished a 3-year OPD, they couldn't find H1B, they didn't get the H1B, they had to go back to India. And someone based on the country of birth, they didn't get the H1B, but they qualified for EB visa.
yeah,
Now, whose loss it is? Right? It's unfair to this student, but
Yep.
India is losing out so much. One point I missed out is that let's say I am in the United States, right? Uh, I have already proven that my job there were like no American available to do my job.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
if I
Yep.
go back to India, India doesn't have a shortage of healthcare worker, and India doesn't have a shortage of STEM workers. So if I go to India, I am taking someone's job. I'm not here. I haven't taken American's job. But
Yep.
if I go to back to India, I am taking a job which could have been done filled like someone who is already in India, because India doesn't have STEM shortage or India doesn't have healthcare. So I think that India thinking about that India has a huge incentive if this is fixed, or this is like if they started treating fairly, that they
That's
will
true. Yeah.
uh, uh, get all this remittance as well, that someone let's say become permanent residents, their capability went up to support their family or like however they want to donate or something, right? So I think that the way I look at it, that there is a great incentive for India to fix it, but it should be fixed because it's the right thing to do as well, right? But
yeah, yeah,
regardless of incentive.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. I
No,
mean,
that's very, very true. They have an incentive to do that, and the fact that it's not been done, I'm hoping with time, like the efforts like Anuj that you've been doing is phenomenal. Anybody else who comes out, and I know Atul has started doing a
Yeah.
lot of work around this,
Hmm.
which is great. We need folks like that, instead of sitting on the sidelines, that whatever you can do, you have to talk. If you get to meet a representative or a city council member, anybody, talk to them about this. Let them know this is your problem. And I think there's this mindset we have as Indians and immigrants generally, when we don't like talking about the difficulties we face in life, right? When we move to a new place or things like that, like
Right. Uh-huh.
we'll be like, we have to work hard, we will push through, we will struggle to get out of it. But these are the issues we need. A lot of Americans don't have any idea how bad the system is and how difficult it is for folks like us. And that conversation itself, just making them aware of, hey, this is how things are. I'm in such a bad state. If I lose my job, I've got 60 days, else I have to leave a country that I've lived for the past a decade or so more for. And that's very, very important that you talk about and let people become, because with that awareness, they will talk to other people. The more people become aware, they can talk to their representatives and say, fix this, get this
Hmm.
done.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing, again, I wanted to say this: when you're doing advocacy, right, do it in such a way that let's put it in a way that what value we can give to the people around us, right?
Right.
As opposed to just blasting our problems out and expecting them to come in and fix it, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so I feel like just seconding what Sanjay said, right? The work that you've been doing, what Atal's been doing, a lot of other folks that have been, very active with the voices on Twitter and
Yep.
other platforms and great initiatives. It's great. You guys are doing everything what you can to push this cause through, and that's fantastic, right?
Hmm.
But when you also communicate with the folks around you, like Sanjay said, people don't know what we're going through, right? Talk
Right.
about it.
So,
Along with that,
uh,
let them know what value we can bring to the country, right?
hmm.
I can't remember which president said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for the country,
Kennedy.
right? Kennedy, that was
Was
Kennedy,
it Kennedy?
exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. He was. So let's show what value we can bring to the
Mhm.
to the country by
Right.
removing this injustice that's stopping us from reaching our ultimate potential, right? We've barely hit it,
Hmm.
guys. If you remove these shackles that's holding us here,
Right.
right, and you
Yeah.
let us free, what we can do is it's going to be great. So give us that opportunity to prove, to prove
Yeah,
what we
so there are
can do to
like
the
two
country.
sides to this which we have to highlight and
Yeah,
bring set the light on, right? That it's very unfair. One thing, people, it's very inhuman that people has to go through a lot of hardship which they shouldn't have to go through.
Yep.
But also this other side is that we can contribute heavily to the United States if the shackles are removed, and it's good for United States,
yeah,
it's good for India, it's good for the world, but it's the right
yeah,
thing to do as well,
yeah,
right? But one thing
yeah,
I want to go back to what Sanjay said, that like we are not used to talking about the difficulty we faced, right? We don't talk about that often, and like certain people, uh, including me, it's kind of we have this mindset, especially in the social media world, that we have to portray this image that we are killing it,
Yep.
and if we
Yep.
start talking about like green card backlog, then it was like, oh, it's
it's not a
this
bed of roses.
right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
People will start making fun of us who hasn't
yeah,
left India, that hey, look, this guy wanted to go to do go America, and now
yeah,
he's in like green card backlog and all these things, right? But it's like this kind of things, like whatever we are going through, it's not our fault. We are already doing great, right? Because we
yeah,
are hardworking, because we got this education, and we like even on the Saturday we are talking about this. So we are. It's not
clearly
like we
got
are
nothing
like
else
having.
better to do.
Yeah. It's not like we are having hard time putting a food
Yeah,
on our table, right? But it's
Yeah.
like
yeah,
we
yeah,
deserve more, and we are
yeah,
asking for what we have been approved for. So there shouldn't be any shame on
yeah,
talking about these challenges
yeah,
or difficulties to bring
yeah.
this change. So
Yeah.
more
And
people
it's
like.
people are noticing, but it's like just today morning I woke up and I saw a tweet by Gary Tan, the
Hmm.
president and CEO of
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Y Combinator, right?
Yep. Yep.
He put the visa bulletin and
Yeah.
said, look at the injustice that's there for Indians and Chinese, right?
Yep.
And it's massive for someone of his stature to say it. And you know what's even crazier? Elon Musk
Right.
commented on that post saying
Yeah.
Yep.
this is racist.
Yep. Yep.
So that
Like
that's
Musk,
how
who's
I
been a
started.
proponent of
uh,
illegal like border crossings and stuff, he just
No,
blood
so
straight out put this is
the
racist.
Rahul, the tweet you mentioned, I think that I started this live stream by showing that tweet, and what I was
Oh, you did? Oh,
saying
I
that,
Yeah.
missed this
yeah,
first
Yeah.
bit. Okay, I missed this.
okay.
Yeah.
I missed the
So
first part. Yeah,
what I was saying, that if you have
yeah,
seen the Elon Musk interview with the
yeah,
Don Lehman
Yeah.
recently, what Elon Musk was saying, that we should move away from making everything about race and not talking about racism that much. Now think about how much it how much bad it has to be for Elon Musk to come out and say that
yeah,
this is racist.
yeah.
That the guy who is saying that we should stop making everything about race, that guy has to come out and say how bad
No,
it
I
has to.
felt, it felt nice to see it. Sometimes the
Right.
problem is that acknowledgement is the first step, right? We
Hmm.
we barely get that. Everyone just assumes it's so easy, and that acknowledgement it's a big deal. I think
And
more. Yeah,
fun fact is that Elon was on an H-1B in the United States before
Yeah.
moving
yeah.
to an EB.
Right.
Like he knows the
South
process.
Africa, right? He's from
Yeah,
South
he's from
Africa.
South Africa. So when he
yeah, yeah,
started his
yeah,
first company, I think it was Zip2, when he was, he dropped out of Stanford in 1998. There was no visa available, and so he went on an H-1B. But there were so few people at that time, like there was no lottery or
yeah,
anything of the sort.
yeah,
And so he
yeah.
himself, I would definitely think he is aware of, like, how bad the
Oh
system is,
yeah,
and it was,
definitely
Yeah,
he has
yeah,
yeah.
like he has
yeah,
like a lot of companies, and
He's
he
been
has
putting tweets about his mom getting
right.
having visa issues and stuff. So it's like
Uh,
yeah,
suddenly when you
yeah.
see someone that high up talking about
right.
this, you're like, oh, same boat, Elon.
I know, but what is crazy is that this guy, why I forgot his name, who posted this. He did this, but a lot of the Indian CEOs who are at very well positioned and who has been through this, who are very well aware about the issue, they are not speaking up. So I think that that's another thing, is
Yeah,
that Indian government should intervene, but all this
Yeah.
Indian CEO needs to speak up about this. So we need to create a pressure for
Yeah.
them to speak up.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And yeah,
Uh,
Tesla itself, like one of our commenters, Ramesh, he just posted,
mhm.
Tesla hires a lot of H-1B folks, and they understand, and that's also another thing, right? A lot of Americans who are, let me put it this way, restrictionist about immigration, think they don't want people coming, and that includes legal immigration. They don't seem to understand how much, forget everything else, even from a financial perspective, hiring somebody on a visa and doing the green card paperwork and all that stuff is such an expensive affair. You would not, no company would do it because it costs like 20, 30, $40,000 or something like that
Yeah.
per person every few years, with the lawyer costs and everything.
Yeah.
Why would they do that unless there is actually, if they could find
Yeah.
someone locally, they will absolutely go for that.
Yeah.
Why would they spend extra money? They're not doing
Right.
anybody a favor. They want to make money, right?
We've said it 100 times on the podcast, right? There's one candidate who's a citizen, and there's another candidate who are equally matched. But you got one guy, you got to spend another $30,000 in immigration fees. Who in their right minds would pick that guy?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Ramesh just mentioned there's like a 1350 H1Bs on in 2023 that Tesla hired for.
Oh
It's
wow,
so
wow.
that's crazy, right? That's
And
just one company.
if we
Yeah,
have to
I've got some
guess,
friends.
out
I've
of
got some friends there.
1350,
Yeah.
I bet 1,000 are Indian.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'd say more like 1,200 or something like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah. Anyways, any last thoughts? Anything you guys? Uh, I forgot to ask. You guys have lived in different countries. You already, I think, said that there is no discrimination like this anywhere else, right? Based on your
Yeah, I mean,
country of.
so UAE is the other extreme, right? There's like nobody gets it.
Yeah, so
Well,
Exactly.
then I'm
Nobody gets it.
saying that it's like
yeah,
bad, but it's not a discrimination
yeah,
because
yeah.
the rules are
Nobody
fair.
gets it. Yeah, whether you're brown, white, whatever it is, you will not get a visa. That's
Yep.
one extreme, right? But it's fair.
But
It's
it's
fair.
fair.
It's fair. It's bad, but it's fair because like they are
Exactly.
not taxing you. Like
Exactly.
foreigners don't pay tax. But
Exactly.
also the rules are same for all
Yeah,
the foreigners. It's not like
Yes.
different for if
yeah,
you are from
yeah,
India. It's not different for like if you are
yeah.
from like Bangladesh or somewhere, right? So
So
it's fair.
did you know now folks on spouses on an H4 visa in the US, unless they have an I-140, the H-1B petition has an I-140 approved, they can't work. They can't legally work, even though they're on legal visa here. And it's the same thing for F2 and multiple other
Yeah.
spouse categories. In Saudi Arabia, if you're on a dependent visa, you can work. You don't
That's
need a sponsor.
Yeah.
that's
They've
So
come a
basically
long way from letting
the-
spouses drive.
like you can imagine the difference. The United States doesn't allow it, but Saudi Arabia allows it. It just shows how bad the system is.
Yeah.
and basically like H1B is like someone very highly qualified, right? So there are like more chances, highly chances that their spouse is highly qualified as well, but
Yep.
then you want them to sit at home.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
this is
But Anuj, the thing
good
is,
for any.
even if they're not highly qualified, Anuj,
Yeah,
everyone has a right to work, right?
right,
Everyone has a
yeah.
right to strive for financial independence, right? We're taking
Mm,
Yep.
that from them. We're making a good percentage of people just an extension of their better halves, the ones who
Yep.
are on that visa. That's just think about the damage you're doing to that person's independence or to that person's mental health or to a lot of these things, right? A lot of people don't understand. They just hear the word US and they get married and they come here and they get on H4 and then they're just at home. They
right.
don't,
And
yeah, it's taxing. It takes a huge toll on people. People don't
and
realize that. Yeah.
and we talked about this explicitly on an episode we had with Vidyut. She's like a documentary filmmaker.
Mhm.
Now, if you've followed the USCIS rules, the ability to work on an H4 even after you get an I-140 only came in 2015. That's
Yeah.
less than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she was Rahul, if you remember on that episode, right? I think it was
Yeah.
episode 3 or 4
Episode
of
5.
our episode 5. Never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry. On episode 5 of our
Yeah.
podcast, she mentioned when she immigrated to the US, I think it was in 2008 or 9 or something, she couldn't work. And this
Yeah.
is an accomplished documentary film. This is someone who is a very senior person who had a great career in ZTV in India,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
and she was just stuck sitting at home, because the system wouldn't
Yeah.
allow her to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'd absolutely tell folks who is, listening to this right now to check out that documentary, the Alien that she's done.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It really shows like how difficult the lives are for
Yeah. I
folks.
think they're gearing up for a PBS release. So in the
Yeah,
Oh
next
that's
wow,
few,
what I
you
saw
nice.
guys
on
can see
the.
for Dwight, you can see for updates on our website. So
Right. Yeah, they have like couple of screening schedule, but I think after summer, I think it's gonna broadcast on PBS. So
right, right.
that's
I
Oh,
pretty
think
nice.
I
nice.
think the most recent one is in Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. There are two in
I don't know if
Connecticut.
that was done or it's next week. I don't know the exact date,
April.
but
I
you
think
can
it's
see.
in April.
Yeah, you can see the updates on our website. If
Mm-hmm.
you're in the vicinity, please do attend. It's pretty nice. There are 5 families in US going through their stories up close and personal. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, the search for thing, it's like when the problem got so bad and we are asking for the solution to this green card backlog, they are like maybe your spouse can work, So
Oh shit.
That was a good one.
Maybe, just maybe.
If you have your immigration petition is approved, then maybe your spouse can work.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, that's
All
funny.
right, folks. So yeah, great conversation. Thank you guys
Yeah.
for joining and giving your
Thanks for
take.
having us, Anuj,
Right.
and
Yeah,
thanks for
thank you
all
so
the
much, Anuj.
Mhm.
thanks for all the hard work and everything you're doing for the
Yeah. So
community.
we are putting this out.
Appreciate it.
That this
Yeah.
is gonna stay on the YouTube. Maybe someone from the government would see it and probably take some actions.
Oh,
And it
I
doesn't
hope
need to be crazy,
positive
right?
actions.
Right.
Not. Let's
Yep.
deport these 3 people.
That happened. Like we are taking action. you,
If you don't hear any future episodes from
Yeah,
Anuj's
yeah,
channel or our podcast, you know
yeah.
what happened.
You know what happened.
we'll do it from India.
Yeah. I mean,
Treat it.
then my incentive changes. I don't. If I'm not able to come back here, it doesn't matter anyway.
Uh,
But
no, yeah, it's always great chatting with you guys. And
Yep,
thank you
yep.
everyone for joining. So I was talking about the action item, right? That a lot of the things we talked about, uh, if we don't use it, we lose it, right? And a lot of this conversation we are having, we have to like normalize having this conversation. So let's say that if whatever we talked about, if that makes sense, probably like start this conversation among your friends at least, that hey, should the government of India should intervene against the exploitation of India, and that will lead into like a lot of good conversation. That is it exploitation, should they intervene? So you would be able to like organize your thoughts better, and you would be able to remember these things better, so you can continue having this conversation. So we are like starting this thing, right? So hopefully more people will become aware about this, but also maybe somehow it will reach to the government official and maybe they will take action. So your action item is that start this conversation at least with 3 people in your circle, right? You don't have to start it on Twitter. If you want to, that's great. But like, let's say like in your close circle, ask this question. And then that will lead to a like great conversation. That is it exploitation. And you can like lay out if this, whatever we talked about makes sense, and if you agree with that, you can lay out those points, or maybe if you have a different take and different points, so let us know this. And the last thing is that what we started with that Twitter. So I will say that yeah, government of India doesn't need to say that give Indians green card, right? That's not we are asking. What we are asking is that Indians should be treated equally and fairly, without any kind of discrimination, while they need all the students, while they need Indian workers, right? At least they should be treated fairly, equally, without kind of discrimination. And that's the only thing they can ask and should be asked, right? And not in a big way. If they want to go all in, we why not? But if the small thing is that they can just say that, hey, we are closely monitoring, or put that kind of statement in the media, and that will uh, uh, start a lot of this coverage in the media, that what is going on, what is this like government of India is talking about, right? So that would be helpful. All right, thanks everyone for joining. Rahul, you wanted to say anything? At
No,
last,
no, I think it was great action points that you said, Anuj. Very
right.
great.
All
I think
right.
it's the
Uh,
basic steps that help.
Tell about your the resist sport.
Oh, right. Yes. So I think something that we didn't create this tool. We found this great platform called ResistBot, right? What we did was a lot of times, and this we when Anuj, when we spoke to you as well, we found out a lot of times people don't know who to reach out to. We say that reach out to your representatives or reach out
Mhm.
to other people. We don't know who to reach out to. So we found that there's a tool where all you have to do is actually just put in your details, and it automatically sends a letter to the your state representative. So we created a letter which goes out to the president, which goes out to your respective state representatives, and all you have to do is just put in your details. You can do it through your phone. All it takes is a couple of seconds, and we've got almost about a little over I think around 1,000 or 1,100 folks signing up. I think we can do more. So if you guys are listening to this, please check out that ResistBot link. It's been circulated around Twitter. If you go to our website,
I just
A51 Pod.
posted the link
Oh,
in
you
the
just
chat
posted.
as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
So,
you. If you just click
and
it takes a few seconds, and it is safe. A lot of people have used it. It will go a long way, and circulate it with your friends as well.
right,
So,
yeah. So
yep,
this is like the simplest way you can take action. This is like you are reaching out to the US government as we
yeah,
should, right?
yeah,
That all the policymakers. So it sends the letter to your two senators, your
yep,
congressman, and president, right? So
yep,
this is the simplest way without doing a lot of work. You can do this. So share it with your friends and everyone who is like impacted or not directly impacted. You can share with them as well. Like
yep,
we are
yep.
like kind of like million, but we have only reached 1,000, which is I think we can do better.
A
So
lot
let
more.
others
Yeah,
know that this petition is there. If they visit their members of the Congress, that's
yep,
great. But this is like simplest they can do at. You are not restrained by location or time or anything, right? So please
yep,
do it.
yep.
All right. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you guys next week with
Thank you.
a new topic. Take